Hi guys, my name is Katrina Law, and you are listening to the Regular Joe's podcast.
To movies and toys and TV shows, comics and collecting and superheroes. There's no end to the useless stuff they know. But don't call them geeks, they're just regular Joes.
Welcome to the Regular Joe's podcast, where we discuss movies, TV, toys, and collecting sci-fi comics. I'm Dave Pisani.
I'm Barry K.
And I'm Todd Pleasant.
We have a great episode for you tonight. Not that they're all not great, but we are recapping our trip to Rhode Island Comic Con that we went to this past weekend. And we had a lot of fun, right?
Oh, yeah. It was awesome.
Despite some challenges.
You'll hear more about that, but yeah.
All about that.
We overcame.
Yeah. So just this episode, we've pieced a bunch of stuff together, just so you know. So we recorded a lot of stuff at the show. We recorded some recaps of day one at the show. We then recorded a recap of day two later on. So we're going to piece it all together. But just so you know what's going on the show, because there's a lot of stuff. We had interviews with Seth Gilliam, who is Father Gabriel on Walking Dead. He was also in The Wire. He was on Teen Wolf. He was even in Starship Troopers way back. The lovely and talented Katrina Law from Arrow, Spartacus. And she was in Legend of the Seeker, I believe. Yep. She's quite lovely. Would you guys not agree?
Oh, yeah.
We liked her.
Yeah. Stephen Williams, who was awesome. You know him all the way back from 21 Jump Street. He was in X-Files, Supernatural. We sat down with him for a while. Karen Allen, I think our first return guest. We talked
she was
to her for a while.
In the very first episode we ever did.
Or was it the first episode?
It was the very first episode.
We were able to talk to her for a while. Terry Carter of the original Battlestar Galactica. We talked to him for a little bit. So you'll and some nice little snippets from some Star Trek original series actors.
Yeah, don't blink or you might miss them.
Yes.
Exactly, but we had some little interaction.
Kind of drive-bys. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, drive-bys. So all that is coming up, so check all that stuff out. In the meantime, before you get to all the great stuff, remember, follow us on Twitter at RJ Podcast. We are now on Instagram, the Regular Joe's Podcast on Instagram. And we're going to put a lot of the celeb pictures that we took from the show up there. So check all that stuff out. And as always, Facebook, the website.
Leave us a review on iTunes, all that kind of stuff.
So without further ado, here's the show. We're once again in the lobby of the beautiful Omni Providence. We haven't been thrown out yet. See some people to talk to. Here comes a green girl.
Yes, she's very
Definitely
green.
not the Rachel Nichols green girl.
She's
but
either eating some bad sushi or she's painted green.
Exactly. So anyway, we're going to do a little recap of the show. This is a Saturday night here in beautiful downtown Providence. So, okay, here we got here about noon.
Yes.
Drove in the rain, crappy weather, but uneventful drive where we realized as soon as we got here that this show is way more crowded than it was last year.
Yeah, we had a feeling based on the guest list it may be bigger, but we didn't expect it to be as big as it has become. And unfortunately, I don't think the promoters were prepared for that either.
I don't think they figured that either.
But they kept selling tickets nevertheless.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I gotta say, it was a little disheartening to see like kids leaving in tears, crying because
we did see some
they
girl
couldn't get in. There were periods of at least an hour when they weren't letting people in.
Yeah, well, more
the
than that.
lines
Well,
were just getting...
So we got here. We all met up. We went in about 1:00. There was a pretty long line to get your ticket, turned your ticket in to get a wristband. By the time we got there, it was only like 20 minutes. So we did that. We got in. It was jam packed. It was
crazy packed.
Crazy packed,
Yeah.
like New York Comic Con packed. And we walked around. You couldn't even get to the autograph area. So we're like, look,
we usually make our first trip over there just to check it out, and we literally couldn't even like see people. It was crazy crowded, and we just said maybe we should just go get some lunch and come back.
Yeah, because we hadn't eaten yet. So we did that. Then went up to the room. Todd changed.
Into
I put a costume on and thought, like, go downstairs and walk around a little bit. And I put my Indiana Jones costume on.
With his new jacket that you
been
heard about on the show.
upgraded recently. And we get downstairs, and our plans came to a crashing halt.
Yeah, there was, across the street, we could see, there was a line around the block in the rain. Then we're at the hotel we're at on the second floor. You can go in, like, across this walkway across the street. There were 300-400 people.
I would say
online.
between the indoor line and the outdoor line, there were well over 1,000 people.
Absolutely.
Waiting to get in, and basically what we heard was the fire marshal stopped allowing people in, so there were literally police blocking the front door.
And counting people as they came out.
Yeah.
And then letting.
And these were just
a small number back in.
People re-entering. Everything was like a re-entry line. People who either had tickets. Most of the people had tickets already. Went in the show, came out, and then trying to get back in. So
a little bit of a cluster.
Crazy.
You know what?
I personally was pissed.
Yeah,
because we literally
Dave
were
off
here.
a ledge.
We were here till like 3:00. And really didn't accomplish anything. So I'm like, it's like, it felt like a total bust. So,
but we persevered.
We did persevere. So we went back to the room.
Yeah. Actually, one of the funniest parts of that was we had a friend who we were planning on meeting up with here, who called us on his cell phone and said, "I'm inside. Where are you guys?" And we're like, "We literally cannot get in to meet you."
Yeah.
So that was a little frustrating.
So that was annoying.
The thing is that it's not that. I mean, we've never been to conventions that had lines before. And that's very, very common at conventions. It's just this seems so, it was very unusual, A, for this convention. B, it just didn't seem
last
like
year,
they had a handle on how to manage this at all.
Gigi Edgley from Farscape just walked past. She seems to be waiting for someone, so we're not going to really ask her anything just yet. But anyway, sorry, Todd.
Yes.
Yeah, it just, like I said, it was unusual for this convention. And, like I said, there just seemed to be a total lack of plan. We talked to a number of different security people, and none of them really knew what was going on. It was kind of a mess for a while.
You know what?
Yeah.
I mean, big shows like San Diego Comic Con know how many people they can fit to capacity, and they don't sell more tickets than they know they have the room for.
Yeah.
And it felt like they oversold
This
tickets
show
here.
grew. Again, I don't know what the promoters did or didn't do, but this show grew exponentially over
It feels like
last
it
year.
more than doubled in a year,
and
which is amazing, by the way. You want more
good.
people to show up.
The genre's big. Conventions are a big thing now. Again, I don't know. I mean, hopefully they learn their lesson, and
hopefully tomorrow
we're not
will be a little better,
we're over it.
better organized too.
I'm not gonna bitch anymore until we have to again.
I will say again, like last year when we visited the show, huge number of people turned out in costume.
Yeah.
In some form or another. And there was just a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of really excited people.
Well, and the rain didn't deter any
No,
of
it
that.
really
this year.
No, not at all.
People, I mean, I felt bad for a lot of people wearing awesome costumes standing out in the rain waiting to get in.
Yeah, as they were slowly dissolving. And still, once you get in, there were a lot of good guests this year.
Yeah.
It was a pretty impressive lineup for a small
It was an impressive
Comic-Con.
lineup.
Later in the day, we get to walk the dealer floor a little bit. And I picked up a few items here and there. But
I
I'd
think
say
we all
this
did.
shows-
We got some nice interviews with some people and
Yeah,
did a little shopping.
It was like 3:30, 4 o'clock. We were able to get back in, but like 4 o'clock, which was, all of a sudden, it's funny because a bunch of people left. I guess they let a bunch of people back in, and the show floor was pretty empty compared to what it was
we
before.
thought they were going to be letting people in a trickle, and then when they finally opened the doors again, they let just hundreds and hundreds of people in all in one shot. So they must have really cleared the place out before they let us back in.
I think what was going on is they were trying to get head counts on the inside.
Yeah.
Because there were a number of fire department personnel in like dress uniforms in there floating around.
As much as we love these things, you don't want it to be unsafe either. So I
Absolutely,
understand
I'm
they
all
needed
for
to shut it
unsafe
down.
as long as I get to do what I need to do.
When we were first in there in the morning, I was uncomfortable with the amount of people in that room.
It was
uncomfortable.
jam packed for
You know,
sure.
It was
Yeah, we actually were heading into the autograph area, and Todd literally looked at me and said, "All right, I'm out. I'm going
You
to look
could
at comics."
not even get there.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm the guy from rural Massachusetts. Okay, I'm not used to huge, massive crowds of people crammed into one place.
well-
and I'm not particularly good with it. It just was, like I said, I was actually getting uncomfortable, getting pushed into areas where there was just no movement. And that was when we got back in the afternoon. It had broken up considerably.
It did, and I felt almost like I didn't know what to do because it was like, okay, here's space. So
Yeah, there was plenty of room at that point, and we were actually the lines for the people we want to talk to weren't very long, and we were able to really get a lot done in a couple of hours.
Yeah. We
So it all worked out.
It did work out. I mean, we salvaged the day for sure because I thought it was going to be a total bust, but hopefully tomorrow won't be the same situation. We got some autographs.
Yes.
We interviewed some people that you'll be hearing.
So we separated.
So what is it? We got Tony Stark in a kilt coming in here.
Is that Tony Stark?
Arc
in the
reactor
crowd?
with a
the
kilt.
intent. Yeah, that was
There he is.
a
Tony?
Hello,
miss.
Tony.
Hey, Scottish
Looks
Tony's
more like a
Stark.
dress than a kilt, but
Yeah.
we'll
Yep.
go with it. Oh, here's Joey Lauren Adams coming up
Oh.
behind us. So we're just recording. She's
Yeah,
sitting
there's,
down in a chair behind you.
Star of
up,
Chasing
guys?
Amy.
How are you?
Hello. Are you here for the podcast? Oh, I wasn't sure. They're not here for the podcast apparently.
Apparently not.
They just gave us the, hey, what's up, guys, but not the, hey, let me sit down and be interviewed by you.
Yeah, that's fine.
it's
She
all right.
seemed very happy and smiley. She
Yeah,
looks-
I love Joey
Very
Lauren
good.
Adams.
She's very
great
cute.
in Mallrats, great in Chasing Amy, great in Biodome with Pauly Shore.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know.
Oh, who was that guy that gave us the finger?
She's right behind you.
That's all right.
Anyway,
Maybe we should get him over here.
he said he was all no. I think he's trying to show off in front of her. He may be her security. Oh, he's taking a selfie with her.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm watching.
I would take a selfie
I wish
with
this
her.
was a
If she sat
video
down on our
podcast
couch, I would
because,
definitely take a selfie with her.
I don't even think he's with her. No. She's shaking his hand. He's like harassing her.
Oh.
He's like some fan.
Do we need to go
This guy's
save her?
job
No,
was
she's
to
walking
get her
away
past
now.
us.
Now she's walking away, and he's the one who's like, "I'm not here for the podcast." He thinks he's gonna get some action with her.
Well,
He's
didn't
a
he see
tool.
Chasing Amy? She's a lesbian.
Yeah.
I guess not. So anyway, she'll be back. She wanted to be on the podcast.
She
Anyway.
did. I could tell she did.
Yeah,
She knows I'm a fan.
Yes. Who's that? You're looking
Joey.
at somebody.
No. I'm just looking to see. I'm looking at people randomly going, are
Yeah.
they famous? I need to figure this out.
Yes. Anyway, who's this?
Maybe it's Mammonooster.
It's Mammonooster. Mammonester. It's Mammonester.
Mammonester. Yes, we've been saying it wrong
This
this
is
whole
going to
time.
be a pain in the ass to edit.
No,
I
it's
can tell
not.
Keep
It's
little
all good.
throwaway a
You. No,
lot.
although and now we're just sort of we're
We're
lost
vamping.
right now.
We're vamping. It's okay.
So we kind of separated. I wandered around, checked out the dealer floor. Who did you guys get interviews with?
Let's see. We got an interview with Karen Allen, which is actually our second interview with Karen
She
Allen.
was the first guest
She
on
was
the
on our
podcast.
very first podcast we ever did.
She's awesome. She's so sweet. She's like fun to talk to, interested to talk to everybody. So
And here's what she had to say.
Marion's such a strong character. At the time when action movies had sort of damsels in distress, was it written that way or did it sort of develop in the process?
No, it was written that way, and it was one of the things I really, really loved about it when I read it. Is it was the scene that was given to me to read long before I had the script. To audition was the scene in the bar, where she punches him in the face, and I thought, wow, that's like a really tough, cool character, and it made me really, really want to pursue the film. So
I feel like there hasn't been as many strong female characters in modern movies with all these superhero movies and stuff. What do you think about that?
I have to say I don't see that many superhero kind of movies. I want to think that there are still like a lot of really strong female characters in films. Certainly Hunger Games. Katniss is like that's a strong
I think
character.
there have been more in recent years than there were probably from the 70s through the 90s and into the 2000s. I think it's starting up again now.
Yeah.
With movies like Hunger Games and
Yeah.
Divergent and movies like that. But
Yeah. No, I love watching her, Jennifer Lawrence, in those movies. I mean, she plays a really, and I remember watching one of the Zorro film with Catherine Zeta-Jones, that very first one. Wow. I mean, she played a wonderful, strong character in that. I think that there are, maybe not as many as we would like.
what was it like for you after so many years to come back and revisit the character and put the bookend on the series?
Absolute pleasure, like really delightful. I didn't I don't think I really had in my wildest dreams a thought that they would bring my character back and marry us and we would have a child. I thought maybe they'd bring me back and create some little storyline where we ran into each other, but to bring my character so fully into the story and bring the characters back together in a love relationship was a complete surprise, and also just a kind of thrilling thing to have a chance to do,
Like putting the family back together one last time, right?
Yeah. So, Raiders ends on a very up note in the sense that we're going off to have a drink together, but then you don't ever really know what happens to the character. So, yeah, it's great.
Do you think there's going to be another one or more?
I think that there might be. Yeah.
Oh, we have a scoop. The regular Joe's scoop.
No, it's not really a scoop. I know that they would like there to be, not just me. I would love there to be, but I think that everybody would like there to be another one. And how they are, they're very, they care enormously that they get a really good story and then a really good script. They don't want to do it just to do it. So I think that they're hoping that they can find a story and a script that they're really happy with.
Then we interviewed, well, they're not in any order. Who did we interview first? We went to talk to Richard Anderson, Oscar Goldman.
Of
$6 Million Man.
Very nice man.
He wasn't able to record, which is fine.
88 years old, is
He's
that right?
88 years old. Really nice guy. And
really
he
nice.
actually, he grew up in partially in Long Branch, where I grew up. So we talked about that a little while. He had an aunt whose house was in
Long Branch, Texas?
Long Branch, New Jersey.
Okay.
You're thinking of the Long Branch, which is a saloon. And whorehouse, I think. But they didn't say that on
Come on, in
Bonanza.
Texas they're one and the same, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
So we talked to him about that. We talked to him about Forbidden
Planet, which was awesome. He was a nice dude. So we got some stuff signed by him. You got your Oscar
I got my Oscar Goldman action figure signed by him. And you got a picture.
A picture signed by him. He was really nice. Then we saw Katrina Law, who's now in Arrow. She plays Nisa on Arrow. She was in Spartacus. I think she was in Chuck. She
nicest, sweetest, coolest
She was
chick.
nice, sweet, talkative, engaging, incredibly hot. Just
yes,
everything.
That too.
She was
everything.
absolutely
Just
amazing.
seemed
She
so
couldn't
happy
have been
to
more
be here.
gracious. Couldn't have been more gracious.
Yeah.
And to my endless delight, actually knows background on the character that she was playing.
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
amazing, as you'll hear in just a moment, that she actually did some research and read some backstory on her character, which is just a really cool thing.
Yeah, and you'll see, and she took some great pictures with us.
Yeah, those
that
will
you'll
be
see.
on the
Check out
Facebook.
our Facebook. He's got pictures with us on the Facebook. She was great. The Facebook. Yeah, so here's what she has to say. Really nice. Can Nisa kick the Arrow's ass? Like, really? I mean, I think she can.
Wow, I feel like I'm just going to get myself in trouble no matter how I answer this question. I would feel like she could, just because I'm not sure if the Arrow writers will be using the Lazarus pits, but if they are, then my character is technically 429 years old. So that means even if she only trained for part of her life, she would have had at least 300 years of training. So compared to Arrow's 5 years, no matter how good he is, I feel like she would be.
Okay. Follow-up question.
So obviously you're very familiar with your character. What did you do for research?
I cheated. I have a whole bunch of friends that are huge comic book fan people, and they do podcasts on it. So as soon as they figured out who my character was, they basically wrote me essays. And granted, my character's only been in 19 comics, so there wasn't much on my character, but they started writing about my father and about Talia and all this other stuff. But apparently in the comic books, I kill my father, I kill my sister over and over again, dip her in the Lazarus pits. Yeah, I'm just like, hey, die, live, die, live. So I'm not really sure where Arrow will be going with this, just because obviously it's not centered around my character or my family, so who knows? I don't even know if they're going to use the Lazarus pits, but it would be interesting if they did.
I mean, how good an archer are you? You were in Arrow, in Spartacus? Did you use a bow and arrow? In this Legend of Secret, you used a bow and arrow?
No, here I had an Aegil, which...
What's that, like a stick?
Yeah, that's what we call it, a stick.
So how much training have you done with archery?
For arrow, actually none. But the reason why is because it's a compound bow, so they're not going to give you an arrow. Because even if you like accidentally shoot it, you're going to kill somebody. Whereas on Spartacus, on Spartacus we did a lot of training, and I was actually pretty good at it. And the best part was the sticks were literally sticks that they picked up off the ground put a little notch in the back of it. So if you could shoot that thing straight and hit your target, you're actually pretty good. But my dad has a varsity letter in archery, so I feel like somewhere it got passed down in the genes.
Are you a fan of fantasy? You've been in so much fantasy, the genre, growing up and stuff. Were you into this, or it just turned you just?
I feel like I wasn't huge into fantasy when it came to television or movies, but actually, no, that's not true because Dark Crystal and Legend, those are some of my favorites, but I was huge into the books, so the Wheel of Time series is one of my favorites, and I've read the Game of Thrones series, and a couple of other things that usually involve dragons and like wizards and fairies and magical people. So I feel like in the book world, I'm more there than...
Do you want any F, Marry, Kill questions? No.
Well, yeah, F, Marry, Kill questions. Those are fun. They can be, as long as you know who the people are. Sometimes.
Okay, Iron Man, Tony Stark, Captain America, or Thor?
F, Thor.
I agree. She's dreamy. Come on.
So then Iron Man or Tony Stark?
Captain America or Iron Man.
Marry Captain America, kill Tony Stark.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be a good dude to you, right?
Yeah.
He's so virtuous and honest.
The guy that you want by your side, you want him to be a good, solid, good old-fashioned man.
Yeah.
Who can change the oil and, opens doors, and that's what you want.
With a shield.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But can't be fucked with.
Yeah.
So.
I like that. Then we met up with
Nicole Marie Jean, cosplay
person who we met last year.
Yes.
She was super nice. We're going to play that on another show, but it was great to see her at one of these shows.
Yeah,
she was dressed up.
Dressed as Red Sonja in full chainmail.
Oh, my God, yes.
Battle damaged Red Sonja. She had, war wounds painted on her.
Yeah.
And she looked amazing, and she threw us for a loop because we were prepared with some very nice questions, and she basically said, I get asked nice questions all the time. Ask me crazy questions.
Yeah, I said, we're not going to ask you anything creepy, and she says, I like creepy. So, anyway, you'll hear that on a future episode. Then you got, I think that's, who else did we interview?
I went Terry Carter from Battlestar Galactica. He played Colonel Ty on the original series of Battlestar Galactica. Super nice guy, again.
Yeah.
We had a bit of a conversation with him. We talked about Battlestar and why it caught on the way it did, and that was a fun conversation. We also found out that he never really got into the new series, so he didn't have much to say about that. But good guy. Here's what he had to say.
Battlestar was the first post-Star Wars science fiction show. At the time, did it seem like it would be such an iconic show? Or
well, frankly, we had big expectations out of it. We knew, just reading and working on the pilot, we knew this was going to be a big thing. We expected it to last for several years. Unfortunately, there were legal things behind the scenes that prevented that from happening.
I expected it to go on for years, too. I was really disappointed when it didn't.
Not as disappointed as we were.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it was. I mean, I loved the show. It was
we
so
did
much
too.
fun to watch as a kid.
We enjoyed doing it. I mean, it just happened to be an unusual grouping of actors. It was like a family.
Yeah.
We're still together. We still stay in touch with each other even now, 35 years later.
Wow. It was very cinematic for a TV show, too. I mean, the special effects were movie quality, where in the past, a lot of TV stuff, really, they didn't put that much into it.
A lot of money. They spent a lot of money on it. Yeah. And it was released as a movie,
Oh, I know. I saw it.
I saw it
in the theaters. I remember as a kid going to see it.
Okay. We had split up. What did you do while we were doing some of this recording?
I kind of hit the aisles and looked at comic books and looked
Wait. This is a comic convention, and you looked at comic books.
Interestingly, a comic book convention.
Were you alone in that aisle looking at comic books?
I was not alone, but I had a lot of breathing space as opposed to the side of the room where you guys were. I got what was really, really cool for me. I got a extended period of time to talk to Jim Steranko. It's kind of a comic book legend.
Has the greatest hair in all of comic
books.
books.
Oh, without question, has the greatest hair.
I would call that a mane.
He is a mane.
More of a coif.
I mean, and this is, if you don't know about Jim Steranko, look him up. He's an amazing guy. He was an actor. He was an escape artist. Okay.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Before one of the most fascinating people to talk to, and one of the most interesting characters in comics history. So I got to talk to. There just wasn't a lot of people around. So I got to talk to him for a little while, and he was nice, very gracious. He shared some anecdotes and whatnot. I'm going to go back tomorrow and get him to sign a book for me. I also popped over and said hi to Neil Adams, who continues to be Neil Adams and was really not interested in speaking to me about anything other than
Tweaky-esque, would you say?
giving him money. What's that?
Is he Tweaky-esque?
I would say that would be a fair assessment.
He's a taller version
again,
of Tweaky.
He was quite clear that short of buying something, he really didn't want any sort of attention from me
But yet
whatsoever.
you keep going back and trying to see if maybe he'll be in a better mood every
I
time you see him.
just keep trying, because again, he's one of the guys from when I got started in comics, and I've started a conversation with him 2 or 3 times, despite the fact that there's never anybody at the table that he's
I know,
at.
he's had massive
no
booths sometimes.
interest. It was just
When we
move
saw him
along,
at the Connecticut
move along,
Comic-Con,
son, you're bothering me.
Connecticut Comic Con a few months ago.
It had a
The largest
massive
booth I've
booth.
ever seen a
Oh, yeah,
comic artist
it's
have.
quite amazing.
It was bigger than the Image comic booth at Comic Con,
Yeah.
New York Comic Con, yet nobody was there. So,
Yeah.
And again, great artist. I'm taking nothing away from his
And
work.
There will come to be a day when I'm the only one left that remembers Neil Adams. He still won't want to talk to me.
I have a signed picture of his. I was happy
I
to
do
have
too.
it. I
Yeah.
don't know where I put it, but yeah, it is what it is.
So happy to have it that you don't know where it is.
yeah,
Yep.
But
But
I
it's
digress.
so what else did you see, Todd? What's in the box? No.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I picked up some back issues that I needed. I wandered around, and again, there's a good number of comic dealers, some action figure dealers. As we're starting to see at these shows, a lot of vendors selling cosplay components. A lot of like steampunk
Yeah, which is
fantasy
kinda
kind
cool.
of things.
People building stuff. I always like seeing
and
that.
That was kind of interesting to see. But I got to tell you, the crowds were at the other end.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's twice the crowd here there was previously, it's real. The draw is the celebrities.
It emptied out in the end, though.
Yeah.
Not the end. In the back
Right.
half of when
But I'm
we
saying
went.
that, that's what the majority of people were clearly here for, and they were packed in those lines on the other side.
I mean, no doubt about it. The autographing is a draw to these shows. I mean, and there's Shatner and there's cast from the rest of the original series, Star Trek, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Sons of Anarchy.
Speaking of the Trek guys, I went over to George Takei and Nichelle Nichols and Walter Koenig, and I actually got them each to sign an action figure for me. George Takei was great. I mean,
he was nice, yeah.
Really nice guy. He was here with his husband.
We met his husband, Brad.
So we went over to talk to George, and Dave mentioned that he knew him from the Howard Stern show, and he immediately went, "Oh my!"
So hopefully we'll have a little of that on the.
See if we got a recording of that. We had a recorder running when he did it, but.
Yeah.
And then I went over to Walter Koenig and got his autograph on my Chekhov figure, and then we went over to Nichelle Nichols, and she was lovely as ever, and got her to sign my vintage Uhura figure. So that was nice. I now have 4 signed Mego figures from the original
very, very cool.
cast members, which is cool. And who else did we see while we were over there?
We saw John Rice Davies, who we just missed to get him to sign our Raiders poster. But we'll be back tomorrow
we'll
to
try
get
to
that
get him
done.
tomorrow. And then who else? We saw
early on when we walked. One of the first people we ran into was Seth Gilliam from The Wire.
Yeah,
and also who was on last week's episode. He was the Gabriel in last week's episode of The Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. Well, yeah.
He's actually a relative of the uncle of someone I know, and so I introduced myself and we talked a little bit. Seems like a very, very nice guy.
And he was right next to Scott Wilson, who played.
Scott Wilson had a line the whole time.
Yeah.
And, I got to say, I've been to a couple shows with him. I've met him. I talked to him. He's such a good dude. And it's nice to see him getting all that,
so he was Herschel on The Walking Dead, for anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
He was super nice, was taking pictures with everybody, really seemed to be talking to everybody that came by. And his line was one of the longest out of everybody's. Really, really long line for him.
So that was good. Yeah, it was good to see him there. And tomorrow we'll try to get some more interviews, see some more people, get some more signatures. Mark Shepard from Supernatural. We've got to go back to John Rice Davies. We ran into William Catt in the lobby here before. We hadn't even seen him at the show. He was the greatest American hero.
So that's interesting, by the way, because we didn't see him, and we actually asked him, "Where were you?" Because we didn't see you, and he said he was off in a back area. When we saw him at Connecticut Comic Con, he was also not with.
I wonder
the rest
if he was near the artists.
That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could
because
very
he
well
was
be.
last time. He was near.
What a nice guy,
Bob
though.
Layton,
I didn't get to
is
meet
that
him when you guys did. And we
Well,
talked
what's
just
funny is
briefly
we
here.
were sitting in the lobby with our friend Daryl, and we saw him walking by, and we just started clapping. And he actually immedially ran over to us and sat there and talked to us.
Yeah, he came. Such a good dude.
Pretty cool.
What a nice guy.
Yep, very nice.
There's Harley Quinn, ladies and gentlemen. Hey there. What's going on?
Hello.
Come on over. Do you got 2 seconds to talk to us?
My name is Nicole Elizabeth.
Are you here for the convention?
Yes, I am.
I would say it would be a little scary.
We'll
if
have
you
to
were
show you a
dressed like that and
picture.
you weren't here for the convention.
No judgments. No judgments.
No
there.
judgments at all.
No, none.
People dress like this all the time.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Dr. Quinzel could just be here for an appointment. I mean,
That's
it could be a
true.
crisis on someone's part, and she popped
Yeah.
in doing a house
Exactly.
call.
So your dress is Harley Quinn in the whole regalia?
Yes, well, partially now. I took the shoes off because they killed, and the hood
Yeah.
was very hot. So
Where's your giant hammer?
I did not make
You don't.
one.
Yeah.
This is
That
good.
seems
Thank
like-
you.
Which was smart
Three-
because with the
Wow.
crowds in there today.
3 people today hit me inadvertently with a giant hammer, and I want to tell you, I appreciate your not having one with you right now.
Of
That's
course.
a good thing. So,
So have you been to the show before?
Yes, I have. This is my second year.
So yeah, we were here last year as well. So a lot of crowds today, huh?
Yes, there was like a 4-hour wait.
Yeah.
Did you get
yeah.
trapped in any of that?
No, I'm in the RKO Army.
Okay.
So
yep.
the Rocky Horror Cast.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we
Oh,
just
okay.
got in the loading dock and
Oh, that's
snuck
good.
around.
Good for you. That's good.
It was
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
We made the mistake of going in, seeing how crowded it was, and saying, well, we'll go get lunch and we'll come back. And
It
we
was-
couldn't get back in when we got
Nope.
back for a few hours.
Yeah. It was
But we eventually got back in. It was fine. But
No,
yeah,
they
it
were
was-
really selective about who they told. If you leave, you can't come back in.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah.
some people got stuck outside.
Yeah, that was.
I'm
kinda
sorry
rough.
that happened to you.
No,
That's
it's fine.
okay.
It all worked out. We ended up having a great time when we got back in there. So
Awesome.
we'll be there tomorrow. So
Do you cosplay often?
Not very often. Usually around like Halloween time, or
Uh-huh.
if I perform with RKO, I like to dress up as different people.
Well, who else do you dress as?
I did the Black Dahlia, Elizabeth
Okay.
Short.
sure. Yep.
So who are you in the Rocky Horror
Earlier.
Cast?
I do mainly Trixie,
Okay.
Oh.
who does the
okay.
opening credits.
Yep.
Right.
I'm
Yep.
working on Magenta and Frankenfurter. So
Wow.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
I just like to work my way up
I was
to the
going to
top.
say, just kind of covered all. That's awesome.
No, that's great.
Yep.
So you're having a great
Totally.
time here?
It's a blast.
Yeah.
We're having a cast party upstairs.
Oh, nice.
We actually have one of the original Transylvanians from the Rocky Horror Picture Show in our audience today.
Oh, really?
That's
Wow.
terrific.
So the one that looks like Marilyn Manson.
Okay.
And
Okay, yes.
He had no idea that was his nickname. Like that was his
yeah.
callback line.
Really?
We got to explain it to him today, and he was
Yep.
so excited.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
So it was an honor just seeing him there in the front row, doing the time warp next to him.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Oh,
great.
that is so awesome.
That's great.
So excited.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping and talking.
Okay, so we got a guest. That was good.
It was good.
That broke the ice.
So, as we were hanging out in the lobby, our friend Seth Gilliam came back in. We had talked to him earlier. He had some time. He sat down with us, and we got this interview.
This is my friend Stefan, who might do some bird calls at some point.
Bird calls. We
He's
love bird
he's
calls.
an angry druid.
Good. Okay, so we're back, and now we've got Seth Gilliam, who joined us in the lobby here.
Hello.
A big fan of your work on The Wire.
Thank you.
Absolutely awesome. And last week we got to see you on The Walking Dead.
Yes, yes. Well,
Well,
the last couple of weeks.
Last
yeah.
couple, yeah.
Yeah.
Quick question is, okay, tell us what happens for the rest of the season.
Everybody dies.
Oh, see?
It's horrible.
Heard it here first.
It's a massive
We have a
flood.
See, I heard the bird calls from
Yeah, there we go.
young Obi-Wan.
So,
Thank you.
how was that? How was you jumping into
Yeah,
like
tell us about that
the
experience.
hottest show on TV right now?
It's been pretty wild, mostly because I had about a week and a half before going from knowing nothing about the show to being on the set
Yep.
and shooting. But everyone on the set when I first got there, starting with Andrew Lincoln, who was the first actor that I met who plays Rick Grimes on the show, has been really, really lovely and have given me the sense that I could try just about anything and it wouldn't be embarrassing for them.
It's tough. There's such a close-knit family.
Yes, it's one of the things you worry about when you walk into a show that's already got its own thing going and the engine is going. Like a finely tuned bird, you want to be sure that you don't upset the chemistry of it.
Yeah.
So so their acquiescence to like, oh, the madman coming on to do something different was good.
Well, everything we hear about that, the way that show operates at this point, they are such a tight-knit family because they've been working in such crazy conditions together for so many years now. So is it intimidating coming into that and being the new guy?
Yeah, it was only intimidating until I actually met them.
Yeah.
The first scene that I did was the scene where I think Father Gabriel is on top of the rock and he's being surrounded by walkers, and when they all came, slowly creeping up on me or running up on to see what the scene was, there was a brief moment of, oh, there's Rick. There's Daryl, there's so-and-so, but at the same time, no, I'm somebody else, so let's get into it. They've been fantastic, and, all the intimidation any intimidation that I've felt is only really from stuff that comes outside. It's, it's the promotion of the show, and it's how many millions of people are watching the show, and how many countries watch the show and translate it or not. But when it comes to actually doing the work and being on the set with the other actors, they're fantastic, and for them it's just like, telling the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Were you familiar with the show prior to getting the cast in the show, or are you a fan of it, or?
No, I didn't watch the show. I came to the show. I watched the first 3 seasons a week before I went down to Georgia.
Crash course.
And then I watched season 4 the Saturday before I worked, and then Monday I was on the set.
That's awesome.
Very good bird calls, by the way.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive, really.
I love the bird call. We have to have I
got a wire question for you.
Sure.
In fact, I was having this conversation with someone the other day. It's very common to see shows that have 2 or more Wire cast members in them.
Yes.
Have you had a lot of other work that you did where you were working with people, or is it just because that ensemble cast was, you had such great actors, you're just going to run into them again?
Well, I think one of the things about it is that a lot of people in the industry, a lot of writers, were coming up and watching the Wire in a way that the viewing public wasn't. Yep. And paying attention to things that a lot of the average people turning on TV on a Sunday at 9 o'clock weren't. So now they're in positions where they're doing their own shows. They're the head writers on their own shows, or they're executive producing shows, or they're what have you. And what they have as a base to pull from are the actors that they've seen on The Wire.
Absolutely, yep.
And so consequently, I think you see on these really top-notch shows because they were, you know what I mean? They were following the leads of the people that they were impressed and moved by, in David Simon or Tom Fontana before him, for Dave,
awesome.
For David Simon, that now the quality of their work is along the same lines, where it's dealing with humanity and the interpersonal relationships of the characters, regardless of what your typical TV scenario may want to set up.
That's what it's all about. I mean, like my wife is like, I don't want to watch a show about zombies. Not about zombies. It's about how the people interact with each other. I mean, that's the draw for me.
I think absolutely. It's what are people like in the most extreme circumstances?
Exactly.
I use a flippant, Black Friday reference to the shopping thing before Thanksgiving.
Now Black
Christmas.
Thursday.
Oh, now Black. Yes, because everything's moved up and moved up. It's like it's Halloween, but here are Christmas decorations.
Exactly.
But I mean, if you see people in a panic for getting a deal on an electronic, piece of equipment,
what are these people going to do?
What would they be like? Should
That's
all of the rules just suddenly not apply?
That's actually really funny because they can't even handle getting a toaster, let alone that's going to be a new series. It's going to be Black Friday. The Black
Friday we're out of toasters.
Yeah.
I remember Cabbage Patch Dolls back in the day. Where people were cutting each other in the aisles for that.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
It's crazy.
As my friend the Bird will say.
In the zombie apocalypse, where do you want to be? And we've said
we've done a show about it. Like, what's our plan?
You want to be at a Costco.
We've been to Costco. Nice.
Lots of food.
Big block
nice.
building.
Yeah.
Does
Costco have the rolling gate that they pulled on the front, or do they
Yeah.
just have that real plexiglass, unbreakable glass?
No, they have the gate.
Gets right through.
I've scoped them out.
You want the
That's
rolling
our advice.
gate.
Do
Absolutely.
you have any zombie apocalypse survival advice that you picked up that you want to hand along?
Something not just yet. Still
Okay.
trying to survive in the zombie apocalypse. I have no
understand.
tips. I'd be the last person to ask on what to do.
Well, keeping that information close is good too. When you got a plan.
It's like the high school track medal. That meant a lot to me. Let's get that. It's back it's in the basement. There's no lights. I'm going down, dude.
Yeah.
I have a penknife.
Yep.
That's so funny.
So the scene that you guys shot in the basement of the food,
In the water, right in the food
Oh
thing.
God,
that was such a creepy scene.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
what was that like filming that?
That was actually a lot of fun. It was 12 hours in that tank, and
Really?
I started out, and it was the water was very cold, so they gave me a wetsuit. And I thought, okay, the wetsuit. And one of the one of the tech guys was like, I don't know if you want to do the wetsuit, dude. I mean, they get kind of hot. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. But the water is really cold, and we're going to be in it for a while. So I put the wetsuit on, and I started sweating like a hostage. It was horrible. I started getting dizzy and lightheaded,
really? Wow.
and then I had to climb on the top of like this like food stand thing,
Right,
and then
yep.
did whatever. And it was right underneath the lights. And 3 takes in a row, they had to stop to adjust for something. So I said, and rolling and stop. So it's like 16 minutes underneath the light with the wetsuit on, about to fall into the water, hoping it would refresh me.
Yeah.
It did not. It was horrible.
It wasn't helping.
But Andrew Lincoln was like, this is wild, man. It was like, you're right, Andrew, this is wild.
You know what, though? It came off sufficiently creepy.
It really did.
Oh,
It
cool.
was funny.
Cool.
I mean,
I'm glad the effect worked.
It's so funny. Like the first episode, there were flaming zombies, and then that second
And then
episode,
you had the
there were
water
water
lodge, like,
zombies.
totally,
I'm like,
yeah.
You know, just they're just
It was
bringing it to
the
such
molten
another level.
flesh had been like sagged with the
sloshing
fluid,
off
and it
there.
was
It
just
was just-
sloshing off the bones. It is the
yeah.
grossest
It's amazing.
show. It's fantastic.
How many years into this?
I think my bird just died. Are you,
fell
are
asleep
you
over
right,
here.
Stefan,
Yeah.
my bird man? You good? I think we're good with the birds. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of the bird love. This is my friend Stefan. He's from Europe.
It's amazing how
Hey, Stefan.
how this far into the series they can still come up with stuff that just
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just,
and it's kind of a testament to Greg Nicotero and the expanse of his imagination.
Yeah.
You know, and at the same time that he's creating completely new and different creatures and characters, he's also putting little nods and tips to the movies that he watched when he was growing up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everything else is some like 1973 horror flick from, Sweden. I don't know if Sweden makes horror flicks, but you know what I
sure they
mean.
do. Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, here we're gonna put one of the zombies that has a little thing on its brow that's like that little." You know,
it's great
and
that
it's
you do that. You know that there are a handful of people pick up on it, but you do that because you just love the media so much that you want to put all your little tweaks in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where your influences came from, the things that other people may recognize that you dug when you were young, before anyone was being paid for it and everything else.
Yeah.
You know, to still have that kind of like childlike playfulness is really exciting. And I think it's one of the reasons why the show is exciting is successful is because the people still have that about it. Like they're making this own little thing, you know, and we can still play like kids in it. And isn't this cool? We're playing with these crazy creatures and this bizarre thing, and I'm gonna hack you to death, man. And it's a lot of fun.
That's great. Hey, so going back to your career, do you have a particular role that you consider your favorite?
Yeah, I did a play called Man at His Best at the Young Playwrights Festival in New York City in 1992, and it was written by a young playwright who was 15 at the time. The Young Playwrights Festival, they only took subscriptions of playwrights up to 16, and then the idea was that they would have professional actors and a professional director and a professional theater put on their plays. And so we did this play called Man at His Best, which was what I did with another actor named James G. Schuyler, which was, to this point, the absolute most fun that I've ever had.
Wow.
Getting paid for acting.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Would you say The Wire is the thing you're most recognized for?
The Wire is the thing I'm most recognized for, from people from like ages like 16 to 60.
Yeah.
I think that's going to change right now with The Walking Dead.
Yeah, it might change from The
So
Walking
getting some
Dead.
cred from
But I have a whole lot
Walking
of like younger people who look really, really too young to me to be watching such a show, who are all over Teen Wolf, who are just like, and it's really cool because in that kind of Pee Wee Herman sense, it's like, oh, it seems like it's this, but there's also something for everybody else as well. I think Jeff Davis does a great job with that. Yeah.
Cool.
We ask everyone one question. Do you have another question?
I was just going to say, personally, The Wire is like some of the best television I've ever watched.
Cool, man.
And,
I personally think it's the best show in the history of television.
Yeah. I would make that argument as well.
Oh, excellent.
So
we're not going to challenge you on that.
Okay.
If you were on a desert island and it could have one DVD with you, what would it be?
Taxi Driver.
Oh, very good choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like everybody talks now about how some of the best drama and best stuff that's going on now is going on TV. Is there anything that you're like into watching, or do you have time to watch TV? Or I
personally watch a lot of sports programs. I watch a lot of the NFL Network. I watch a lot of the Travel Channel, and I watch a lot of Ghost Adventurers. I don't really watch a lot of scripted dramas at all, mostly because I'm not home consistently enough
it's hard.
to follow it week to week. And I don't want to like start watching something and miss 2 episodes and then try to catch up and then have to get the DVD. It's like I'll get everything in box DVD sets in their time, and in the meantime, I watch a lot of NFL Network and Travel Channel.
That's awesome.
Where's this podcast going to? This microphone I'm talking into, where is it going now?
It's on iTunes.
That's on iTunes.
We'll give you a card.
Here's,
It's not live. We're recorded, and then we.
I would hope it's not live.
We're on iTunes. Info on
Good.
the back.
There'll be a lot of
We've
editing.
been doing it for about a year and a half. We recorded here last year.
Whose idea was it to do this thing?
We've been friends for about 15 years, and we go to shows, and we always talk about sci-fi and movies and TV.
Right.
And we're like,
other people were saying, you should record this because this would be interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
And then we're like, let's do a podcast. We're like, okay, let's do a podcast. And then, and we get to talk to each other every week, and we talk about the stuff we love, and we get to come here and see everybody.
What do you think the best themed podcast so far you've done is? What show do you feel most like that was the idea? There it is. Which was
obviously it's this one.
Oh, of course. Good answer.
Honestly,
good answer.
But these were like last year we sat right in this camp and we're like, let's just set up and see what happens. And then C. Thomas Howell comes in and the dudes from the Karate Kid come in and we'll interview him just like you did today. And just sit down and have like an off-the-cuff conversation. That kind of stuff is exciting.
Yeah.
But we talk about,
the three of us are all toy collectors. We've been collecting toys for years. So we've done a few shows just about collecting, and those seem to really be popular.
We have hardcore listeners who were all into, toy collecting. That's like
like G.I. Joes or like more of the
G.I. Joe collectors, but all kinds of stuff.
Kept buying stuff.
We grew up in the 60s and 70s, so
I was 70s kid myself. Yeah.
So,
what's your favorite toy growing up?
It was actually the Steve Austin $1 million man, $6 million man with the little like magnifying glass for the eye where you look through the head.
I have every version in my collection.
We all have.
Yes. Oscar Goldman was here.
I did see. I had dinner in the green room next to Oscar Goldman. He didn't say anything. He was just laughing at all of Spawn's jokes. It was very bizarre.
We actually talked with him.
We talked to him. He's 88.
I was like, this guy, I thought he was dead like 30 years ago. Yeah. And here he is. And he's quick and he's sharp.
Yes,
he's on it.
We talked to him.
He moves slow, but he's wide awake,
he was
man.
in Forbidden Planet.
Forbidden Planet.
We have a movie.
All right, fellas, I think it's time for me to continue my evening.
So after we interviewed Seth, we saw Nichelle Nichols coming down the escalator and making her way through the lobby, and we tried to call her over and see if she wanted to be on the show, but she was kind of headed somewhere. She had some handler with her that was taking her through the lobby, so we didn't really get to talk to her, but we did get this very short clip.
Hey there.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
We're from the Regular Joe's podcast.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
While we were in the lobby again, we saw Stephen Williams of 21 Jump Street and Supernatural, which I'm a big fan of, walking by. He was like, what's going on? What are you doing? And we're like, hey, come on over and talk to us. And he sat down for a great interview. We were there for I think we even talked to him after we turned the mics off. So we were there for half an hour talking to him. He was a great dude. So check this out. Can you pull that closer?
We're trapping people as they come
We
down.
are trapping
I'm
people
with three guys who are trapping people as they come downstairs from the hotel, and they're calling themselves Joe.
Yeah.
Yes.
All three of them.
Yes.
All three of them calling themselves
Dave,
Joe.
I'm Barry, and that's Todd.
Say it again.
Dave,
Barry,
Todd.
and Todd. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Dave, Barry, and Todd with us here tonight.
Anyway,
Dave.
all big fans of your shows.
Thank you very
21
much.
Jump Street, Supernatural,
X-Files.
X-Files,
You're the
Legacy,
man on
LA
X-Files.
Heat, Blackjack Savage. I have eight series. What were they? Oh, The Equalizer.
Oh,
yes.
You know what I'm upset about. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm Stephen Williams.
We said that.
Yes.
Gracious enough to sit down and let us ambush him and talk to us on the Regular Joe's podcast.
Yeah, actually, I ambushed them. I knew they were here. I need all the PR I can get.
So do we. That's why we want people like you on the show.
What was the other one? Blackjack Savage? What did I
You
name?
you were saying
The
Equalizer.
Yeah.
I worked on the Equalizer.
I was the original. I was an original cast member of Equalizer. Me, Robert Lansing, and Edward Woodward were the three original cast members, and of course Jump Street. And second movie now that they've done, and not asked me to walk through a frame.
What's up with that?
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
That's not
That
right.
is not cool.
That's
You
not
think
right.
not? I'm not going to say that because,
No.
I still got to work in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to mention it.
Just in case.
So, just in case so Hollywood would know I'm a little bit perturbed.
Yeah.
I thought I was decent in, all those
So
projects.
you having fun here in Rhode Island?
Yes, I am having fun. These things are so much fun. The fans are so incredible. Just incredible people, who support us. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of
we
fun.
were here last year. This show has grown. It doubled in size since last year.
That's what I heard. I mean,
It's never.
They had to lock the doors.
Yeah, they did. We couldn't get back here
You're
for
on the wrong
3
side
hours.
at one point.
Okay.
But
I just tried to drink water with the cap on. That doesn't work.
Here,
Cigarettes
let
in
me
there.
open it.
Oh,
So.
butts in my hand. I got to put down.
There you go.
All righty. Thank you very much. I just had a bottle of water opened by Dave.
Yeah.
We're a full-service podcast. You listen to podcasts? You're familiar with podcasts?
I am so non-internet, non-cyberspace, none.
Really?
I don't even know how to text. I don't text. I don't email.
You're
I don't,
probably better off.
You probably
the
get somebody
grid.
that does that
Well,
for you.
I'm old school.
Yeah.
You got to remember, guys, I'm a baby boomer. I'm used to communicating with people direct, face-to-face. You can't tell what's going on when somebody texts you.
Yeah, that's true.
What did they mean
That
by
is a good
that?
point.
The tone. There's nothing on an email that says the tone of your email,
Right.
which is,
Yeah.
I just learned about speaking. Speaking email, really, because I thought, are these people really sitting down typing all of this stuff? And for what? And when it's much easier to dial those 7 numbers, and speak to someone. I had a guy once tell me, I was on the phone with him. He asked for a number, or I wanted a number. And he said to me while I was on the phone with him, I said, give me the number, blah, 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 blah. He said, hang up, I'll text you. Now, my sensibility said to me, man, just give me the number. What do you mean? Hang up, I will text you. I'm talking to you. I have a pencil in my hand. I have a piece of paper next to me.
No, people don't like pencils or paper or
Nobody even rings my doorbell anymore.
or
They
have
just
short-term
call me
memory.
from the front door.
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
here.
Really, they
Open the
use their
door.
phones.
Just had people
They
over
use
and they're
their
like,
phones instead of the
I'm
doorbell.
here. Oh, where are you? In the driveway. Like, really?
It's too funny.
I mean, okay, but
That's funny.
it's
So-
an impersonal world.
A couple of questions for you. You've done
Right.
a lot of work, obviously.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite role?
Actually, my favorite character, I have 2 things, favorite role, favorite character, a little bit different. My favorite character is probably Mr. X from the
okay.
X-Files.
Good.
That's probably my favorite character. My favorite role, though, was August Brooks in L.A. Heat. It was like a foreign first run, only ran 2 seasons. Me and Wolf Larson did the show, and it was like Lethal Weapon for television. And it was just a hoot, man. We got to do stuff that, most normal producers don't let actors do. A lot of stunts. I did my first 3-story high fall.
Oh, wow.
Jumped
That's
off a
fun.
building. They taught us how to do these you see all the car stunts, everything but a pipe ramp. Did that stuff. Wolf and I had tremendous chemistry, and we sort of ran it.
Yeah. Well, that's fun.
It was for the first time that we were literally the stars of the show, so you got to do stuff
Right.
that ordinarily they wouldn't, we wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
We had to tell people, we had to tell directors, no, I'm not doing that. I think I'll do it this way.
Great.
So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And Blackjack Savage. Blackjack Savage was neat too. We only did 7 shows. That was a Disney Stephen Cannell thing.
Oh,
I think,
yeah, yeah.
17th Century Pirate.
Yep.
And we shot it in Miami. And the fun thing about that was, I got one interviewer asked me once, "Are you having fun?" I said, "Look at me. I'm dressed like a pirate. I got this long hair wig on, the earrings in, and we're in Miami. Of course I'm having fun. So
That's fun. Is the the genre, the fantasy, sort of the sci-fi, is that more fun because you just get to do something that's just not like regular?
Well, yeah, the sci-fi is much more fun because the sci-fi is what got me into the whole convention thing, and that's a whole nother world. Somebody said it. I think it was Rick Worthy.
We saw him before.
Who said, "We've gotten to travel the world." Michael Jai White is here. He just got back from Dubai. He's going to South Africa tomorrow night. Yep. So we've gotten to travel the world doing these conventions.
They've grown so big. I mean, we're convention goers back, from the '80s when it was just Star Trek and comic book conventions, but the stars and the autographing in the past 5 years has become such a huge part of these conventions.
Yeah, it's and I get to meet people, other stars, other stars, like I'm a star. But other actors that I've not met, that I admire, that I like their work and stuff. I get to meet them, and And
So
like
it's
again,
almost like a networking thing for you guys too, right?
exactly, exactly.
Let me ask. We were always curious about. And don't answer if you don't want to. But like, did the convention say, "Hey, we want you to come to the convention," and they bring you out here? How does the whole thing work? 'Cause we're like,
I'm never real sure.
Yeah.
Whether I've been. Well, yeah, you had to be requested somehow.
Yeah.
You know, but there's so many booking agents involved.
yeah.
Like my manager involved, the gentleman that was just here, Damian Jackson. He's the booking agent who brought me aboard.
Okay.
So I don't know if the owner of the convention said, "Hey, can you get Stephen Williams?" or he said, "I can get Stephen Williams."
Yeah, right.
I never know. I just like to come.
But
You know,
they
if I'm
fly
not
you
working-
out and everything,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just the
absolutely.
logistics
They
of that
take
has
it-
got to be something.
It's
else.
amazing.
Yeah, they've got a lot
It's
of
amazing.
moving parts, I would think, to keep
Yeah, I
that,
look
all
at
the balls in the air.
I look at the Mavs sometimes and go, God, how are these guys recouping sometimes? Because, they bring us out, they fly us out, they put us up in hotels, and then they've got to depend on the fans.
Well, I can
to
tell you how this one
recoup all that.
It's those endless lines down the
Yeah,
street.
that
does it, huh?
They sold a heck of a lot of tickets.
They were pissed off at the fire department because they cut their profits in half today.
Yeah, well, it's almost like these. I don't know if I'm giving away any secrets here, but these conventions. It's almost like we're the sideshow.
Yeah.
The actors are the sideshow, or
Yeah.
maybe the draw, because
I
it's
think-
really
no,
the vendors.
it's
It's really the vendors that this
It's
thing
not.
is.
Honestly, we've been doing these for a long time. It's the actors these days that are the draw.
Yeah.
That is what.
Yeah, well, that's the
bringing
draw, but it's
people.
the vendors that.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Generating,
Well, they get you guys to come. And then I guess you do what you sell your autographs or pictures, which is awesome, and then they make the gate
They're selling
and then
everything
they charge
else.
the tables. Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
but
so
you're called it a sideshow, and in a lot of ways, for every one person that wants to come and get your autograph, there's probably 20 that just want to check you out and look at you and shake your hand. And
I get many people coming up to the table going, I just wanted to meet you, just wanted to shake your hand. And there's always that sort of really, really moving incident. I had a lady tell me once that my character, Captain Fuller, changed her life.
really,
From watching the show because of this,
That's
the
awesome.
social content of the show, or the little some fans that come and they just stand there and they look at you and they sort of shake and start crying.
That's
and
awesome.
It's just it's kind of
Yeah.
it's very humbling. It's
Yeah.
actually very humbling.
Well,
it's
it's great.
nice to connect with the people that you're doing the work, but so many people see it, and it's nice to be able to connect with those people. And
Well, I told the panel, we had the panel today, and they were talking about how much they enjoyed the panel. I said, you guys are 50% at least of the panel, because the panel is about an exchange.
Right, yeah.
It's about that
Right.
interaction.
And it's interesting, and we talk about it ourselves. I mean, there's people, it's great to get out to these things, but you look at a guy, like a Shatner. He's got $100 million, but he still comes to these things. And I think they that connection to the fans. He can't need the money. But it's awesome that he just comes out and wants to meet.
I'm sorry.
Well,
There
the
was a
bottom
half-naked
line
girl
is
just walked
the
through the
bottom
lobby.
line is
Half-naked girl, sorry, half-naked girl.
bottom
just
line
walked
is
by.
about the. Oh yes.
There's a story there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, you should see us. There are 4 guys here. Now we've just all turned. We've all got whiplash now.
Yes.
From turning to look at a beautiful woman who
There's
just
a
walked
lot
by.
of that here too.
Yeah.
So.
Without the fans, we are not.
Yep.
So I'm sure that's one of the reasons Shatner does it. We all realize that this is about them, that we are not popular, we are not working if we don't have people who are watching us and liking our work. So
True.
Like that.
What are you working on now?
I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do an episode of Bones when I get back. One of my favorite shows. I watch. There's also we have a pilot that I've just done called the Over the Plus 50 Club. Over 50
Saw
Club.
that on IMDb. Yeah.
Oh, you saw that? Yeah, we're doing the premiere. I think on the 11th or something when I get back. Hopefully, it'll go someplace. We've done the pilot, and we'll see what the producers do with it. That was kind of fun. And just looking for that next project.
Good.
Great.
Episodic stuff, movie stuff, and hoping for that next series.
Yeah.
I like a TV series.
Yeah.
That keeps me busy, keeps me getting up every morning, keeps
Some
me
the
out of
best-
trouble,
Some
idle
of the
time.
best storytelling is going on
it's
TV now.
TV's
Oh, yeah.
great now.
Oh yeah,
It's
they're,
great.
they're doing some very interesting shows, especially on the cable network.
Yeah.
Oh
Some
yeah.
very
We
interesting
work in the
things.
cable
Yeah, we both work
business,
in the
not
cable
on the
TV
shows,
industry,
but but yeah, there's cable's really taken such a leap ahead, and like Netflix and all these things, the series on Netflix and stuff. It's really
Great stuff. I want to say something. I want to start some controversy for
Okay.
myself. There's a show out there, you guys, and nobody said anything about it. That is a wonderful production values, the acting, the whole thing, just great performances. The Orange is the New Black.
Oh, yeah.
You
watch that.
Yeah,
He watches
it's
that, yeah.
Fabulous show, but socially unconscionable. Think about this show, man. I thought, what a fabulous show that's glamorizing prison, though.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
It makes it cool for these, young girls to go to prison.
I work at I work in an all-girls school, okay? So I'm a teacher in an all-girls school. Yesterday was Halloween. We had a whole group of girls dress up as characters from that show.
Really?
Okay, yesterday. I was like, they had prison uniforms on. They had like cornrows in their hair. They had the whole bit, and they all knew every single one of them knew who every character was.
Yeah, that's making a statement about our culture, our society that I'm not sure I'm real comfortable with. I don't know.
When you look at
it's
shows
out there.
like,
Again, guys, you got a great show, though.
Yeah.
Look at shows like
Might like to be on it.
And there are a lot of shows that are glamorizing things that aren't really the things we want to be glamorizing.
Yeah, well, people are being rewarded for bad behavior these days.
Well, that's true.
Look at Kim Kardashian, where she started and where she is now.
I've got to find me some bad behavior that doesn't involve jail.
That's what we were thinking. We want to promote our show. Like, what do we got to do? Should we rob a bank or, do something on the show to get more listeners? But
we can just lie. We can tell everybody we're now surrounded by 15 naked women.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's audio.
You can't see it, but it's awesome.
It's awesome. It's great. Having a heck of a time here with Stephen Williams.
Yeah.
Hey, we usually ask people if they have a favorite DVD, if they have a favorite
If
movie.
you were on a desert island and could have one DVD, what would it be?
It would be an adult one.
We haven't got choice.
First person.
We've asked this question dozens of times.
And what's been the
no
common answer?
No one's gone there.
No one ever said that. It would definitely be an adult one.
That was a unique answer.
I like that answer.
Fantastic.
It's a good choice.
Involving Brazilian women.
Yeah.
We've had people like, this French movie you've never seen. No. Let's get down to the real deal.
Don't want to do that over and over again.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate
it.
Hey, guys, my pleasure. My pleasure.
So that was pretty much our night in the lobby of the lovely Omni Providence. And I got to say, they are gracious to the point where they completely ignored us. There were security guys walking by every 10 minutes, sort of looked at us and kept moving, right?
Yeah, they knew exactly what we were doing, and they just left us alone, which is awesome.
They didn't even ask, like, hey, what are you doing? I mean, they're awesome. So, we cleaned up our mess, and everything was fine, and, they were very cool about it, and, I'm happy to stay there anytime. Yeah. So, if you're ever in Providence, stay at the Omni Providence.
And I just have a bad feeling that next year when we go back, there's going to be 10 podcasts set up in the lobby because we keep talking about how awesome it is to podcast from there.
Yeah.
You want to know? You got to have the balls to do it, and even we don't. And the funny thing is, we hemmed and hawed for how long before we actually set up this stuff. I don't know. Should we do it here? Well, don't.
Well, wait a minute. You really should mention the fact that we had you move an entire group of people from the couch they were sitting in,
and we tipped them. We tipped them for moving.
Yeah, there was a couch we wanted to sit in because it was the least in view of the front desk, basically. So there was 4 or 5 people sitting there. So I went over there and I explained to them what they were doing, or what we were doing, and they're like, "Okay, we'll move." And then Todd gave him $20 to buy him a round of drinks. So they were cool about it too, and that worked out. See, in New York City we would have gotten knifed for that. But that'd be a good show too.
We would have been lucky if all we got was knifed.
That would be a very special episode.
Yeah, exactly. But it did take us 20 minutes to get up to nerve to set it up, and once we did, it was fine, and it worked out. 2 successful years in the lobby of the Providence Omni Providence
and I'll
Hotel.
say this year there were fewer sort of random people in the lobby that were just wanting to check us out and be interviewed, or drunk people, because there was less going on in the hotel. It seemed like there was like a soccer tournament there, so it was a lot of younger people.
There was a Special Olympics thing too that had broken up a little earlier.
And while we're really fond of the Omni Hotel, we're not really down on the new lobby layout. Just if you're taking feedback, folks, we really like that one central couch thing we had last year. That was really working for us. The 4 couches, not so much. So,
we made it work.
Well, you never know. We may set up multiple stations.
Could be next year. We get 4 4 crews there. So we'll see.
Yeah, we may need that.
So anyway, that whole thing worked out great. So that was it a bit, I guess, right?
Okay, on to day 2.
Yeah, then we went to bed.
Yeah. So then, day 2, we had a whole. Well, I'll say we, but I had a much better outlook because I was pissed day 1, but it worked out better. I mean, we had our plan and we kept changing it, but so we basically, what did we do? Did we get dressed up and go? We went and had breakfast. I know that.
We had
couldn't
breakfast.
get in till 10 o'clock. Then we said, our plan, we were going to wear multiple costumes, day 1 and day 2, but we didn't do that. So we dressed up in our Batman and the Goons costume, as you'll see pictures on Twitter and Facebook and
yes, Dave
Instagram.
Was his usual awesome Batman costume, and as Todd and I teased about last year, we decided this year we would dress up as Batman villains. So we both dressed up as Goons with identical costumes.
Yeah, henchmen with the word Goon written on our chest, and Dave made us POW and BAM call-outs so we could be punching him.
Check out the pictures; it does justice.
We went down to get in at 10 o'clock when they opened, and crazy long line to get in, but it went quick. I saw 2 of the coolest kids I ever saw while we were waiting to get in. There were these 2 little kids, couldn't have been more than 10 years old, in full Stormtrooper costume.
Yeah,
and
those
not
were awesome.
Off-the-shelf Stormtrooper. These were real, somebody made these the way
made.
they make full-size Stormtrooper outfits, only they were shrunken down, and these 2 little kids were so into it. It was great. So we have pictures of those kids too. We'll put up on Facebook. But I was just blown away by those kids. They were awesome, and that was before we even got onto the floor. So
yeah, They opened right at 10 o'clock. We got in. I think I do remember Batman being a civil servant, helping the line move along.
Yes. Yeah.
And maybe perhaps just jumping.
Doing
a
little line jump in there, Batman. But yeah.
But
I was also impressed once we got inside. I mean, obviously Dave always gets a lot of attention, but there were people that actually recognized Todd and I as Goons from the classic Batman TV series, and someone even just wanted to take our picture and didn't even want Dave in the picture, which was my favorite moment, I think.
Some people love the Goons.
That was kind of interesting. Yep.
People love 66 Batman. I mean, no matter where you are, even younger people than us remember it and get a big kick out of it. So.
And as we record this, the DVDs come out in a week, I think. 2 weeks?
Is it a week? Jeez.
Yeah, it's coming up soon. So by the time this hits, the DVDs should be either on the shelves or just about on the shelves.
Yeah, they're mid-November, I think.
Yeah.
So check them out. They're only like $300. No, I think Amazon has them on sale.
So anyways, as we said, the this is day 2 was much better organized in terms of crowds and whatnot. There was a lot of kind of feedback, very negative feedback from the first day, not confined entirely to us. Apparently, the convention's social media outlet, it described what had gone on, which basically came down to 3 to 4 hours when people weren't allowed in, as a hiccup, and yet the whole time continued to sell tickets. For a venue that held 10,000 people, they had sold over 20,000 tickets at one point. So not so much a hiccup, really more of a real serious error on their part, that the next day, like I said, was appreciably better. And we got in there.
When we got inside on the second day, we could see that they had actually done some rearranging of the floor as well to make for better flow. They moved some guests. They moved the cosplay group, and they grouped certain actors together that are sort of, were in the same movies or in the same series, so that there was definitely a better flow. They definitely overnight did some work to make it a better experience for people once they got inside. So
and hopefully, they'll learn. They need more space. The problem is, that's about as much space as there is in Providence, I think.
Or
that's
in
the
Rhode
biggest
Island,
space,
period.
but
There's just nothing
Yeah.
to keep it the Rhode Island Comic Con. You got to be in Rhode Island, and there's not a bigger venue available.
You know what, though? They're
Yeah.
connected to the Omni through a bridge, and it wouldn't be the first time we've been at a convention where some of the events took place in ballrooms and in other rooms in a hotel.
Yeah.
So maybe they need to, spread it out a little bit more, and that might ease some of that
there was some
flow.
definite. in one corner there was one of those climbing walls. Like, you really need that? I mean, that's some prime retail space, and you move some of those cars around,
or
and stuff.
just room to have people standing in lines, because the lines, the queues for the autographs is. I mean, you guys spent a little more time around that than I did, but we're just crazy. And
you can look at New York Comic Con; they have staging areas where they line people up that aren't even anywhere near where they need to be. Floor. Yeah.
And
so there are ways to improve still, but they did a better job on day 2.
Yeah, without question.
Yeah. So we cruised around. We wore our stuff. We took a ton of pictures, or people took a ton of pictures of us. That's always fun. Love to interact with the fans. Children love me. It's always great.
Yeah, okay.
Todd and I are still figuring out our personas, but you've got yours nailed.
Yeah,
It's so much easier when you have a mask and gloves on. You don't actually have to touch anybody. So
yes, and then we went over, dressed as Batman and the Goons, took a picture with Poison Ivy.
Yeah,
who was there? Nicole Marie Jean was there day 2, and we took pictures with her. And you will see the unfortunate placement of my POW sign in those photos.
Yeah,
I didn't realize I was holding it.
She looked pretty good.
Yeah, in that spot, but whatever.
So, Todd, you wanted to get something. You had one of those big
I had my
art books.
Artist edition, Jim Steranko artist edition of Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is the single heaviest book that I own. And so I went up and got that and carried that around for a while. When Mr. Steranko got back to his booth, I had him sign it. Again, I got another 5-10 minutes of talking to him, and it was great. And remembered me from the day before, and just a really nice, gracious man. And just, he's always been kind of one of those kind of standout people in that industry. He does a lot of interviews, and he's just, kind of 60s comics ambassador. And, I was really pleased to have some time to talk to him, and that I got a signature that is probably the biggest single signature I've ever gotten on a book. Because I guess that makes sense, because it's a big book, but it covers most of the page.
Oh, really?
He must be. He's quite a character.
Lessons from John Rice Davies, and we'll get into that in a second.
It's ironic that you got a large signature, because we both got extraordinarily large signatures at the same time.
Yeah, we had to go back to get John Rice Davies' signature on our. We have our Raiders posters mounted on foam core, and they're 30 by 40. And we had them in bags and in cardboard, so we had Karen out sign them the day before, and we had to go back. And we get up there. The line was long. He had a constant flow. He was a nice dude. He would talk to everybody. As much as you wanted to talk to him, he would talk to you. So
seemed like a very nice guy.
Yeah. So we had our poster signed, and it is there's Lucas, Spielberg, Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, and him, and he has by far the biggest signature on these posters.
That's great.
It's kind of like the Declaration of Independence, and he's John Hancock.
Yes, exactly.
So why
it's nice now that those posters are signed by the 2 directors and 3 of the main actors. So I'm psyched
really
about
cool.
that.
It's really cool.
Producer.
Yeah.
Lucas was a producer.
Yeah,
so
had he directed it, the acting would be much worse.
Okay. So as you guys were in line and ultimately talking to him, I kind of walked up and down and was looking at who was talking to who, and who had lines. And Barry, you watched Boardwalk Empire, right? Or at least part of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you watch it through the end?
Yes.
Just wrapped up. Okay. So William Forsythe, okay, who was the actor who was in there for a couple seasons. He was Manny Horvitz, the butcher guy. He was there, and he didn't really have a line, so I just walked over and talked to him for a few minutes. He's one of these character actors that's been in everything. He was in The Rock and Once Upon a Time in America, and we just talked a little bit about the show for about 5 minutes, and it was kind of cool. And if you don't know who he is, look him up. You'll recognize him. He's
definitely recognizable.
He's like thuggy guy who's been in everything, and but really cool. We had a good talk about the show, and what we liked about it, what we didn't like it, and we both agreed that it ended really kind of on a high note, and it was done. Although it was a series that ended sooner than they wanted, they did a good job in how they wrapped it up. And so, anyways,
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
While we were waiting for John Rhys Davies, we were able to see Eliza Dushku showed up, and we were sort of watching her interact with her fans, and it interesting. And yeah, she's an attractive woman, so
she's pretty freaking hot. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of creepy dudes who like her.
Yeah, there were a lot of people bringing her gifts, which was
apparently she
very
had
strange to me.
She had her belongings stolen, and at the show, and they were actually there was security footage that caught the people doing that. One of them was arrested ultimately, and then at last I read they were still seeking the second person, but they've identified
he's on
him.
this podcast.
They've identified him. Nope,
No?
no, it was So
I hadn't read that. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. The other interesting thing, John Rhys Davies' line was sandwiched between Shatner and Eliza Dushku, and we were observing Shatner's process for signing autographs, which was interesting because I guess he doesn't like to be sitting there when there's nobody online, so he waits for a line to build, would come out from behind the curtain, sign autographs, and then when that line was gone, he'd go back behind the curtain and wait till there was a line again. So
at $80 a signature, what does he want to see? $5,000 in line at a time, you think?
I think, he probably had a number.
He doesn't come out for less than $5,000. Is that what it is? Okay,
something like that.
Yeah, he's got a price line in mind, anyways.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Wow,
Price line.
That was
he's,
great.
He's the king of these
Shatner,
conventions.
He can do whatever he wants. He is the Shat.
Yeah.
So then after we sort of wrapped up there, we started walking back because we kind of at that point had said, we really haven't walked the entire show floor yet. So we were heading all the way to go to the opposite end of the floor to really hit the artist area. And on the way, I saw Matthew Wood, who I've been wanting to talk to for years, and saw an opportunity. There was not a line at his table, so I headed over there. Matthew Wood is a sound designer at Lucasfilm who's worked on some amazing projects, but he's also the voice of a number of characters in the movies, most notably General Grievous from Episode 3. But yeah, so that was cool. We actually went over to him and talked to him for a little while, and then you guys were sort of right behind me. Were you there the whole time, or did you join me in the middle of the conversation?
We were there the whole time.
Okay.
He was a good dude.
guy.
He was really super nice, very engaging. I mean, this guy has the dream job. I mean, he works at Skywalker Ranch. He designs sound on the Star Wars movie. He works on Marvel stuff, and couldn't be more down to earth and nice, and really interested in what you had to say. And
yeah, I mean, I sort of took the approach with him. They're like, hey, you're a sound guy. I used to be a sound guy. And, I just wanted to come over and say hello and just tell you I really like what you do. Because, I mean, I am sort of into that side of the movie business. I just love listening to really good quality sound design and the way they do it. And I've heard interviews with him before, so I kind of knew he was approachable and a good guy. But, yeah, we had a great conversation with him. And, we talked about possibly maybe, going through Lucasfilm PR to get him on the show at some point because he seemed interested.
Really,
so that was
good
pretty
guy.
cool. I mentioned to him that we had dinner the night before with a friend of ours, and then I mentioned to him that when I was talking with him that he was the second person over the weekend that we had talked to who'd been on the set of Episode 7, and he kind of laughed about that and made a joke. He's like, "Oh, so you must have heard about the Gungan tanks." The water tanks for the underwater Gungan city, and we just looked at him, and he's like, I'm kidding. There's no Gungans in Episode 7.
Yeah.
But he was pretty funny. He was very deadpan when he did it, so I was just scratching my head for a second. But he was a good dude.
Yeah, he was a really good dude. So that was I think he'd be really good to have on the show. Not even as he works at Lucasfilm, but just to talk to him about
interesting guy to talk to,
his craft and stuff. Yeah.
And he's definitely got the right attitude. And we were talking a little bit about some of the changes that have been made to Star Wars movies over the years, and his attitude is kind of aligned with mine. I think with you guys too. That creative people need to create, and you can't you can't just stop when you've got that much in you. You can't just stop. So I get why Lucas has done a lot of what he's done, and you can't please everybody with the franchise as big as Star Wars. So
yeah, true. Then after that, I guess we pretty much walked the aisles. I think this show we did the least amount of actual buying. I mean, other than autographs and stuff, I didn't buy much. But it was funny. We're walking down one of the aisles, and when we were there last year, there was this woman who crochets. If you know what that is, it's sort of like knitting. She crochets like 6 or 8 inch tall characters, like Doctor Who and Star Wars and Star Trek and all these different characters, and they look great. I mean, they're just awesome. And I remember I said to her, I took her card. I'm like, oh, you know, it'd be great if you made a Wampa. And she's like, oh, yeah, I never thought about that. I'm like, you know, my son collects Wampas, and, you know, it'd be cool if you made a Wampa, and I'll contact you. I never wound up doing it. So I'm walking by, I see a Wampa at the front of this table I'm like, oh my God, this is one. She's like, you're the guy whose son collects Wampas, and I made this for you because you mentioned it last year.
Dave,
so I'm like,
I think you were in the Batman outfit last year too. I do.
Was I?
I think you were. I'm pretty sure that she remembered Batman asking for a Wampa.
Yeah.
I think that was,
how many times does that happen?
Other than that, I was going to say it's kind of a triumph of memory on her part, but the fact that, like I said, there's not two guys out there looking for.
Well, but the fact that over the years she made it, knowing
and it was
that
really cool looking.
And I should give her a plug, and I don't even know where her card is.
Yeah, put her info up on when you post a picture of it, though, because it was very cool. She had a lot of really neat things. I bought
and she charged like $20, which is ridiculously low.
I bought a hat that looked like a Viking helmet with horns crocheted into it. It was very cool looking.
Yeah, that was cool. And then I challenged her. I said, all right, I'll be back next year, and I want a stormtrooper, so we'll see if she remembers.
Yeah, right.
She will.
Yeah, we'll put her info up on one. I'm sorry, I'm like shuffling through papers, but maybe I'm still shuffling.
Yeah, I see that. So while you shuffle, I'll talk. So then we went back into the back of the room where there was sort of the most of the artists were set up, and Todd had the day before you had seen what was the name of it?
Yeah, it's yoblocknation.com. And they had kind of Block Nation was the sign they had up, and again it's yoblocknation.com. Guy named Mui Dean, who I won't say his last name because I'll mangle it, but had very distinctive style, kind of a minimalist but very, very, very dynamic style with a lot of sports characters and superheroes on these kind of mini posters he was doing. They were pretty inexpensive, and I made like 4 passes by trying to figure out which one I wanted to buy, and ultimately,
so you bought all of them.
So I bought pretty close to all of them. You bought a couple also.
I bought a couple too. Yeah, it really is a nice different take on the superhero stuff, different angles and
very
really
very
cool.
Classic stuff, and it's great. And the nice thing about it is it's not super stylized where you'd say, oh, he's trying to do Kirby, or he's trying to do Neil Adams, or he's trying to do this person. It's very unique and very, very cool. And so we talked to him for a couple minutes, and we get this brief interview. We're talking here with Mui Dean from Block Nation.
Yes.
You got a very distinctive art style. We really like your stuff. We just dropped a ton of money here at your booth. So how's the show going for you?
It's actually going pretty good. It's going pretty well. I really like coming out to Rhode Island. Rhode Island's actually one of my first Comic Cons I've ever done.
Is that right? That's great. That's great. You've got a very distinctive style. You've got some really terrific superhero artwork. Where do you draw your inspiration, and where do you get the ideas for what you do?
Well, I'm definitely, a lot of my inspiration comes from comic books. I do a lot of reading of comic books, and I try to stay, like, all the perspectives I pick or the views I try to pick is usually try to do something that hasn't been seen before. Another thing is also, like, I'm really inspired by an old artist named Jacob Lawrence, who did all this stuff with really flat forms. He's from New York. It was, and I try to take on that type of feel with comic book pop culture and that type of stuff. So this is really, that's where I pull all my inspiration from.
Very cool. Okay. And so again, you got a lot of sports figures. You got a lot of superheroes. Anything that you haven't done yet that you're looking forward to doing?
Well, I'm dying for an opportunity to do a comic book cover. Like, if ever Marvel wants to give me a chance to do a cover, I definitely do my best.
We will pass that along. Thank you. It's been great talking to you. Thank you very much.
So all in all, it was a great show. It started out a little rocky, I'll say that for sure. I think some of us mentioned, geez, I'm never coming back to this again. That may have been me.
That may have been you.
But as long as they have, the guests make a difference, I got to say. If they have good guests, I'd certainly go back. It's a nice, manageable show.
Yeah, the question is going to be for next year how they manage the growth that they've had. Because this show was clearly twice the size that it was last year. They brought in much higher tier guests than they'd had previously, and that accounted for a lot of the draw. But I think it's kind of out there as a as a very manageable show and a show that people can get into. And I'm wondering whether they hurt themselves this year or whether they're going to come back with a better plan. So that remains to be seen, and we'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, but we had a great time. As always, I had a good time hanging out with you guys, and really look forward to any opportunity when the three of us can be together and recording together, because that doesn't happen that often. Yep. So, great time. We had a just fabulous weekend, and I'm sorry it's over, but we got some really good interviews, and hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing our tales and our sharing our experience at the show. So
yeah, and we say it all the time: get out to a show. There's so many of them, and if you're into this kind of stuff, and it's not all about going to buy stuff. Go meet people, meet friends, meet people who are into the same stuff you're into, and that's we've talked at a lot of these shows. We talk to not just famous people, but a lot of normal, cool people who are into the same stuff. I think we put a picture of it. There's a guy who had a TARDIS built, or someone built it for him.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was amazing. This whole thing was just like totally looks legit, and he put it up there. He was taking donations just to take a picture with it. But there's a guy you could sit there and talk about Doctor Who for 2 hours. I mean, it's just anything you're into. There's people there. So,
and when we first started going to these things years and years ago, for me it was all about the shopping, and I would be disappointed if I came back from a show and didn't buy some really cool stuff. I bought 2 Christmas ornaments at the show, and I bought a couple things for my kids. I mean, I paid for a bunch of autographs, and that was kind of where my money went, but I didn't even care. I mean, for me, it wasn't about the shopping. It was about the experience of being there, and the fact that I was able to get a couple of things for the Christmas tree and for my kids was great. But I wouldn't have been disappointed if I came home without any of that. So it's,
exactly.
There's something for everybody.
It's the experience.
I found a few comics that I was looking for. Got those posters and some, like Barry said, some knickknacks. But it was a good experience though. And again, I still, for someone who doesn't want to dive into New York City Comic Con, it's still a nice alternative on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or there's something near you, probably. Check it out. There's Wizard Worlds all over, smaller shows. Anyway, get out there. Go meet people. Go have fun. Go share your interests. So, with that, remember, follow us on Twitter at RJ Podcast. Instagram now, The Regular Joe's Podcast. Facebook, iTunes. There's so many freaking things now. iTunes, snail mail if you want to mail us. P.O. Box. No, I don't know.
We're kidding. We don't have a P.O. box.
If you want to send us a gift, ask us, and we'll give you an address.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a couple shows ago. But if you've got an audio file you want to be on the show, send us an audio file, and if it's good, we'll play it.
Like our pal Mamoon Esther, I believe that's the correct pronunciation.
Now we know how to pronounce it. See, we wouldn't have known that if he didn't send us an audio file.
He shared some pictures with us from a Dallas show. So if you've been to shows, send us something. Let's hear about it.
Send us pictures of you guys in your costumes or with the people you met or whatever.
Yeah, Dave's got to maintain an Instagram account now. We need something to put up.
Yeah, exactly.
Our social media director.
Thanks for listening. Oh, damn. See? Thanks for listening. And you jumped right on it.
And with that.
And we're now with that. Yeah, now I'm Julie, the cruise director, the social media director. But I don't have a cook habit.
See, I always thought you were Isaac the bartender, but that's just me.
Hey,
I was Isaac the bartender at this past show. I'm the one that was bringing you guys beers in the lobby.
This is true.
Yeah, that's true.
We're going to stop recording, right?
Now we are. Thanks for listening.
Well, he went first. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
No, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
We're out of order. It's not the same unless Dave goes first. Do it again. Dave.
Good night, Isaac. Good night, Julie.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
We're huge fans. I love you on the Howard Stern show as well.
That's nice. Oh my.